1993, I met a young girl. She was about 18 at the time. She was at Clark Atlanta University, and she used to come to all the conscious meetings. She was from New York City. She was from Harlem. And the sister had grown up in a form of consciousness as far as the area that she was in. And when I used to go to New York and lecture, she would come out to the lectures all the time, and she was always a part of the conscious community. So I meet the sister. The sister moved back down to Atlanta at the 1st of April. And all of a sudden, the sister's coming up to me. She said, I believe I'm cloned. I believe I'm implanted. She said, all I know is I'm working on Wall Street. And some brother stepped to me and said, they're going to do something here. Some Tom brother. She said, and some guy came to me. He said, some guy came to me and he said that I was hired to kill you. But for some reason, he told her this whole thing about how they got it all out for her. Apparently, this girl was a part of a government experiment since she was born. She said, her mama even mentioned, because she said what happened was that when she was in college, up in New York, she left it in Clark Atlanta, she went back there. She said, but even when she was in college down there, she said she was over at Morris Brown College in Atlanta, and she was working, she was on the computer, and another girl's name came up that was the same as hers. She said when she went back home, her mother mentioned to her one time, don't be surprised if you got another duplicate out here. You see, another mate out here. And stuff. She said, don't be surprised. So she said, apparently she said she burnt her arm and had to go to the hospital. When she went to the hospital, she said after she got out of the hospital, she noticed she had this implant in her. She said, so in her arm. She said, so therefore they started sending messages to her. You see what I'm saying? Now you know Reverend Valentine said that there was a guy, you know, a metaphysician called Reverend Valentine up in New York. So there was a brother in his house, and they looked at his ear, and he had a wired implant all up in his ear, his wire. And he said that he turned one way, and apparently they was listening to it, and the people that was listening to him someplace else was talking, and it picked up on the damn speakers in his house. And they said, oh yeah, they listen to us now. And then they cut it off for a minute. Anyway, she said they've been sending her these signals. And she was down there talking about how she was trying to get a lawyer to get this stuff out of her. And I was like, well, if you go to the damn law, she said because they were already following her all over the country. And then whenever she get a job, they go in, they destroy it so she can't get a job. And she was trying to go to the law. I said, well, hell, if the law is the one for doing this shit, then if you can't go to the law. That's like the law announced, you know, we go our way, we put the dope in the community, and the stupid ass niggas in America, after the CIA fell for the CIA to say, the CIA said, I'm going to investigate myself. And niggas like, okay, the CIA said, oh, we didn't do it. Oh, okay then, going on. We idiots. Humanity is the problem. You got to destroy humanity. We go get ahead of myself. That's the fucking problem. Now, anyway, the sister said they messing with her and all. She came back down. All of a sudden, the sister got 3, 4 Bibles. Now the sister was, when she got hurt, she was trained to be a Yoruba priestess. All of a sudden, the sister got 3 or 4 Bibles in her pocketbook. She all about Jesus and all this type of stuff here. So when she came down, she said she didn't have a place to stay, and I was looking for her a place to stay. So people, needed a roommate. Now, mind you, this sister is the ultimate specimen. I'm chocolate black, waist like a waltz and ass like a horse. Finer than 4 niggas. You talk about the quintessential ISIS. She would fit the description. Beautiful. And a chest to follow. I mean, everything. You talk about the ideal when you put it in a computer with no flaws. That's how beautiful she is. Anyway, the sister, she's down. She said, I see her a week later, I see her about 2 weeks later. She said, I got some house. She said, some preacher put me up. I said, well, you know, I said, I can see why you put your ass up. I said, no, ain't none of that. You know, ain't none of that. I said, oh, wait a minute, hold. Some people are going to give you a haven in his crib. You see what I'm saying? He ain't fine as you are. You know? I said, I find that hard to believe. She said, no. She said, I told him. She said, this guy he's some type of assistant pastor. He has something to do with Ebenezer Church. Now, you know, Ebenezer Church is the main church with the doggone King family. Right. And she said, what I told him, when I told him something, he automatically hooked me up, free room to go, till I get my job and everything else. I said, so what did you tell him? She said, well, you know, I told him something that's very serious. And I said, well, you know you can tell me. I said, hell, you came to me with your damn problem, so you might as well spill the beans. You won't be happy with it. You know, a nigga want to know what kind. You know, I want to know the good. I'm like my mama. My mama, retired school teacher. That's all she do now, gossip. We got a friend down the street, got a police camera. So she get all of their police. And they be like, this Hemmitt, I want to tell you something. She said, yeah, come on now. Tell me. It's secret now. It's a secret. You can't tell nobody. She said, you can tell me. Tell my mama, put down the phone and pick up the phone again. Yeah, guess what happened? This Hemmitt, I thought I told you not to tell them. My mama said, look, if it was a damn secret, why the hell you tell me? You know. But anyway, so I want to know what's going on. She said, well, what I told him is why God gave me a safe haven. Now, there's some shit going down. She said, I got spiritual premonition. They told me that I'm supposed to have a baby for Martin Luther King's son. His name was supposed to be Obadiah, a spiritual child. And I was like, wait a minute now, can't shit good come out of that? I said, first of all, he got 4 children, ain't none of them married. Ain't none of them got no boyfriends. No, ain't none of them got no girlfriends or whatever, that kind of thing here. And for what we know, something funny about all of them.
Right.
See what I'm saying? I said, so wait, can't nothing good come out of this. And I was like, wait a minute, are you sure that implant ain't telling you this? She was like, no. I said, wait a minute, hold on now. Wait a minute, if the preacher put you up because you said that you got a spiritual premonition, you're supposed to have a son from Martin Luther King's youngest son. Now, I don't check the scoop out. I done saw, this is not like some stuff, I'm making up some stuff. Because apparently this sister done got hooked up. She going to Bible school, she's a part of the whole Martin Luther King crew. They got a crew down there, you know, the president and all them folks. Right. And so she said, well, come on down here and walk down here with me to the King Center. And I walked down to the King Center, I done peeped out the shit she up in there. In a matter of months, she flowing with them. The whole, you know, that King thing, man, is a very advanced crew. You just don't get up in there. You know, when white people come there, they make sure that the niggas know you all stay home. And the only people in the church can't go up in the church when they got a certain amount of dignitary white people. Because that shit is all government. You see what I'm saying? The professional will. Fucking that, you know, and all the children. I'm like, you know, this thing is all government, you know damn well. But anyway, I found out what was going down. Apparently, they're going to use this sister like the Handmaid's Tale as this surrogate. And I think what it is, based on what she said, they're gonna try to have this child. And I think the government is radio. Anyway, in so many words, she said that her mother chose her as a child for the government. In so many words. And she said the mother started telling her things. In so many words, she's been a part of this government project and he set up twins. And in so many words, the sister shows back down and crazy as hell and talking to implant. Next thing I know, she's in the King family and that whole center thing. And I'm like, wait a minute, there's some shit going down. The bears witness to this, so they get ready to have some type of little Messiah child. The bear witness to this here. You see what I'm saying? About one of them children having a baby. When they sent this sister down there, she hooked up. Now, whether it happened, that's some stuff. What's that, brother?
So with that time in, with our busy, I invite you to
Well, see, the whole thing is, but you got to realize one thing about them. They're scared now, and they feel they got to have a spiritual icon or some type of spiritual Christ thing. They know the Christ. First of all, they know the Christ ain't coming back. Right. With no healing. The shit is coming back with a straight up killer and a damn monster. It's coming back to clean off this thing. It was a monster in the beginning, and human civilization had to lighten it down into a human base and give it to the people as a candy that they can take. So they already know that what is coming back is whatever is called satanic. You see what I'm saying? And you've been turned against yourself to fear that, which is the true Christ. If you understand, what's that?
What do you think about interacting with the Holy Man?
I'm not really sure, but my point is even though they said it was all stupid, my point is for the mere fact that you would put him as the holy man, right, as a black man, right, just as you did Blade, right, and say you the chosen one, just as you did Morpheus in the Matrix, right, who was the chosen one. Right. They say no, without Morpheus, we are lost. Right. He's the one that has the mainframe of Zion in his
right. Exactly.
The other guy was just a warrior. He was there just to defeat the agents and get them past, so the driver of the ship can do his thing.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Now, apparently in the movie, the guys who made the movie, when they sold the script, we talk about the Matrix. How many people saw the Matrix? Everybody should have saw the Matrix. So you can't be sleeping on Luke. This is one thing he can't do. Anytime something science fiction come out, you got to go see it. Even if it's bad, you can't be sleeping on it. This is probably one of the greatest movies ever made in movie history. So you need to get to seeing this shit. And Dark City was right before it, which was one of the other greatest movies ever made in history. But The Matrix was probably one of the greatest movies in American history. You see what I'm saying? So my point is, you've got to see this movie. But my point is that the shit is not going to come through the conventional ways that you think the science is going to come. It's going to come in the things that you least expect. They automatically know that in your head you've been trained to say, well, it's just a movie. So therefore, why not put it in that? You see what I'm saying? So therefore, you got to go see the particular movie. But one thing about the whole thing is, the boys who made the folk that wrote the movie sold it to Warner Brothers in 1994. Warner Brothers turned around and reworked that shit, put all that science stuff in it. The two boys that come up to that by themselves. They worked it and put all the science, and the government saying what the world really is. This is all an illusion. We'll talk about that before we'll get back in a few minutes. But anyway, they wanted a black man to play Morpheus from the get-go. But when Warner Brothers took it over, with the big budget, they wanted to get Val Kilmer, a big star, white star. So because they bought the script, it was Val Kilmer was in. But when Val Kilmer turned down the road, then Warner Brothers said, well, you free to get who you want. And so they went and got, they see either gonna get Samuel L. Jackson, or they went and got Lawrence Fishburne. You see what I'm saying? But that was one of the keys to the whole thing. Number one, every character in the movie was black, except the white girl that stepped out there with the white on. And her name was Switch, which means she switched over. You see, that's why she had all those long hair and all. But everybody else was black, including doggone Neil. That's why they had on all the black, symbolizing black. All the way down to the actual aura. Now the key here is, when they got over to the other side and people saw the movie, it was only a few of them that had gotten out of the Matrix. So therefore, we're not talking about the masses. We're talking about, when it comes to you, it's talking about the brothers and sisters that was turned on and was privy to this particular information somewhere in the last 10-year period. That's the ones. You see what I'm saying? Damn the masses. It ain't about saving no fucking masses. The masses are finished. You see what I'm saying? But it never was about saving the masses. You see what I'm saying? The masses is mass material. It has nothing to do with the soul. But the ones that's the catalyst for the souls of the whole world, wherever they may be scattered, is the black people here in America. And they're talking about you, the ones that eyes became open within the last couple of years, including the ones throughout all the other organizations like the Nation of Islam, Dr. York, or anybody who got some alternative shit other than the damn church. That's why they gotta pay your boy and brought him out to do that young shit to tell people about Jesus again. This is Kurt Franklin and all that shit. Why you think they doing? They pumping the money up in there because they got to put people back to sleep. But that bullshit. You got to know what time it is. Kirk Franklin and all. You see what I'm saying? So that's very key about the what you call it. That's actually going on. Now, let's go into a certain amount of science on what's actually going on. What's happening now is, if you notice, you can go to all these particular stores and you can see all these magical books, Barnes and Nobles, Bars, and all that. Now, if it was magic and stuff, it could take them out, they wouldn't be putting those books up there. The reason why they're putting those books up there is because those books are made for what is called the day side. And the day side is a cycle of life that is diminishing. It doesn't work anymore. That means you got all of the magical and spiritual stuff that was good for that particular cycle. During that particular cycle, all of the magic that went into that particular cycle. When that cycle was young, that magic was used to coincide with those cycles. Now that particular cycle is all used up, so that particular magic and all that particular stuff don't work no more. So therefore, the other stuff, the flip side of that was the dark side, the evil side. You see, the light side. That is the true energy, because we got a polarity shift. You see what I'm saying? Including death. Now the key with death is what's supporting life on this planet, or what you call life. That particular cycle has been generated and it's about to diminish and it's about to flicker out. Therefore, it's given the cycle of death, the other realm of what you call death, the night side. It is given that particular cycle, the energy in that cycle is waking up. So that cycle is coming alive. It's like you got a bulb in this room, you don't got a bulb and it's about to blow out, you know, it turn blue and pop out. Well, that's what's getting ready to happen on this realm. That's getting ready to diminish. Otherwise, there's a bulb that ain't been turned on in the other room for 13 billion years. Now you got to walk in the other room and flip that switch to the new light. But that flip is to be that switch is to be flipped through the darkness or the dark side. Isaiah 45, chapter 3, I will give you the treasures of darkness. So if you so happen to die tonight, do not go to the light. The light is a trick. What do I mean by that? Look, even if you study your Bible. So we don't throw out the Bible because we're anti-religion. We're not anti-scripture because the scripture comes all the way from us. It was just modified, but it's still ancient scripture that comes all the way from ancient stuff. You just got to go into it. You just can't take the Bible and go from A to Z as if it's a record book of the truth. You just have to go and pick it apart and decide. But if you use it as a book from A to Z as the truth and all this amazing confusion, one of the worst books on the planet.
That's right.
But if you go into a particular book, you understand what I'm saying? You can literally see that the scriptures haven't even been changed, even in certain passages say the same shit. You see? So now, even in the Bible says that Jesus or the Christ. Let's put it that. We don't say the word Jesus because Jesus is a fake word. That's Greek and Roman. You know that whole deal. But we say the Christ, which is a title, which is your energy, your soul is the Christ. You see what I'm saying? The Christ, it says that it's supposed to establish the kingdom on earth. But obviously that hasn't happened yet because your ass still paying bills and catching hell. And your life about to be turned off tomorrow. Right. So obviously there ain't no goddamn kingdom around here nowhere. Right?
Right.
So if you die and you see the light, that can't be the kingdom because the kingdom hasn't been established yet. So the kingdom has to be established by you. So what the shit is this? It's a prism and it is the enemy. It is a trap to keep you reincarnated back here. So what happens? You can be an advanced being, know all this knowledge. And you go to that light and it hits you in the head, and the next thing you know, you end up a baby somewhere crying, kissing shit, and don't know nothing. And all of a sudden, this tower becomes interesting. And you motherfucker read this book a damn week before. Some light and zap your ass up. bunch of little things to play with. But that used to be a grown person. A grown person that had the key to something that got hit in the head and snatched back down here. So don't deal with that. That's the enemy. We're going to go into that science in a few minutes. I'm going ahead of myself. So now, all of the actual energy, so when the cycle was young, let me know when you want me to break. Whatever. When the cycle was young, we had to use a certain ritual and civilization and all this type of stuff to coincide with the actual cycle on the physical realm. So we made a whole lot of magical stuff and a whole lot of scientific stuff to coincide with that cycle. Now that cycle is diminished, and so that particular cycle, that stuff was called the right-hand path, the day cycle. That cycle is diminished, and now we're talking about the left-hand path. So all of your dark gremlins that you call satanic, we talk about energies here. You see what I'm saying? Is the particular stuff that is now the stuff that is coming. Yea, do I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil. That what I feared the most is now come upon me. But that is the prize, the dark side. It's demon metal. That's what you are. Nocturnal beings. They announce your name on blade. Hominus nocturnus, which means night beings. You go and get the memoirs of even Thomas Jefferson. Said, I can't understand these people. These people work in the fields all day. They know they got to get up tomorrow with the back of they go in the fields with a whip crack in their back. But yet they stay up all night to 3 in the morning partying. The slaves. And work all day, but they were nocturnal beings. Night people. You see what I'm saying? You're night people. That's what the key is. That's the vampire. We'll get that in a few minutes. But it ain't the vampire that needs blood. It's the vampire that needs water. Okay. Let's go on with this thing. Let's go on. Let's see what we got here. Let's see. So now, even in the Bible, the demise that you see going on is supposed to happen as far as black people. They said, when will you know the end? They said, you will know the end when the temple of Jerusalem falls. Well, that would be the temple of Jerusalem. That would be the Luxor temple in Egypt. That would be the Babylonian temple. All that's talking about. What it means is, when you fall as a people, that's when the end will come. You have fallen as a people. You fell before in slavery, but you had a little resurgence for a while. But now you are totally degenerated. That's the good part in that. We're dealing with alchemy. Now, what is alchemy? Alchemy is taking something, an original substance, and turning it into something totally opposite than what it was. And that particular part of the opposite is the Christ. You see what I'm saying? Well, what is black people? Slavery itself was an alchemical process. They took an African and turned it into something what it was. You see, now last time I was here, Brother Cameron, I want to put that I'm in Chicago. I want to put that on the tape, so this is exclusively yours. Exclusively yours. Last time I was here, the Brother Chandler gave me a book. Like, what's the name of that book? Theodore what? And I want to explain a little bit of this. Yeah. What is it? God wills to be wrong. Theodore what? Ford. Okay, Theodore, is it Theodore Ford? Theodore Ford. Okay, by Theodore Ford. Apparently this brother went to the University of Chicago in the early part of the 20th century. Now, apparently when he got out, he wrote this book in 1939. Stayed out about a couple of years, and as Brother Chandler was telling me, the government came and confiscated all of them. So a few of them remained in Chicago. Now, Hemmitt had his book 10 years ago with the Afrocentric thing. They could have ended it in as a book that we could get as far as a book as a manual we could go by. It would clear up some things. Now, the story is, and he makes a good thing, and actually I see why the government had to confiscate the book. Now, apparently, after the last invasion of Hemmitt, or Egypt, a large group of Africans migrated to West Africa. migrated to West Africa. Now, you must understand what happens here. The scene shifts and they're enslaved. And which Brother Chandler told me about the book, and so when I checked it out. And apparently, if you got the African chiefs, and not slavery, but the slave traders are coming, doing the slave trade, and they know that there's this plague in West Africa where they're getting these slaves. Now, if you're a chief over a nation or a king over a nation, the first thing you got to do, you obligated to save your own people. So therefore, you got a group of Egyptians who are homeless. Their land was overrun by the Arabs and they had to flee. So you got all these large stocks of Canaanites over in West Africa who ain't got no nation. So the people who are obligated to take care of people in their nation, they say, well shit, give up the damn scrubs who ain't got no nation because their nation fell with the last invasion of the Arabs. Some migrated into Nubia, some migrated into West Africa. So they gave up the scrubs, and a lot of the Egyptians, the ones that went into slavery, was the Canaanites who did not have a nation in West Africa. If you don't have a skin, if it's not race to separate you, it's based on nation. So this also bears witness and bears witness that the Egyptian link or the Canaanite link is in the West. Which even in your boys' book, I think I mentioned the last time, your boys' book on Richard Newton's book, Ischatology Disaster, where they found a stela to Akhenaten in 1800s in Oklahoma, which was a stone tablet. And on the other hand, they found Egyptians or Native Americans in Maine reading and writing hieroglyphics in Egyptian hieroglyphics. So what are they telling you? That the Moors was right. Even Noble Drew Ali's group was telling you that there was Egyptians over here. You see what I'm saying? Now I got another story when I was in Indianapolis, when I was in Memphis, Tennessee, where the sister had given me some information based on some stuff that the white boys told her in Memphis, Tennessee. That the Egyptians, because they didn't have a jail system a lot of times, you just had to, if you did something, well, most of the time, when you did something, and it might have not been murder or nothing like that, when you did something that was against the doggone codes, you had to leave. So as a result, they sent them to the New World, over here. And so as a result, they had so many people over here in the New World, and they used to come back and forth to their people over here in the West. So when the Native Americans got here, they met these Egyptians who had been over here as people that had to get the hell on in ancient times. So as a result, even though it might have been a penal colony and wasn't really, they just exiled, but after a while they just had literally people, after years went on, just had actually a bridge between Egypt and over here. So by the time the white boy came, especially in Memphis, they were saying, the Indians was telling them, they said, well, what's the name of this place? And the Indians were saying, this place is called Memphis. They were saying, you can't change the name is Memphis. And it was like when they told them the story about these Memphite Egyptians that came over here, and some of their people was over here. So the white boys, being racist that they are, did not change the name of Memphis, Tennessee. So therefore, that's why they got the pyramid up there at Memphis State, as well as the statue of Ramesses. But it was interesting because the sister who was telling me this said that back in the late 80s, there was a little small island in the water over there near the lake. And the island got bigger. And after a while, it became this big island, and the white people went over there and excavated it and found these old bones in these remains that predate anything of the Native Americans. And they said these shits go all the way back to Atlantis and Lemuria. So this shit, you see what I'm saying? So, now going back to what I'm trying to say is this here. So, we are over here. Now, our demise, there's something in that. You have eyes that see, and when your sight leaves, your hearing is better. If your hearing leaves, your sight is better. Over the course of years, by us being the oldest people on earth, even on the continent and here, our minds are deteriorating. Because I damn, there's something wrong with black people. Think we're fucked up in the head. I'm on your side. Dinner's got something to do for your ass every day. I mean, every day something crazy shit. So by us being insane that we are, the brain is shut down. But as the brain shuts down, the brain on the inside, which is the pineal brain, comes online. So there's something in deterioration. We're losing the human faculties, but the God faculties are coming back online. Because the matrix that they was talking about in the movie, that's the human brain. That's what that is. Why is to keep you thinking that this motherfucker shit is real and it's only an illusion when you someplace else sleeping. That's what it is. You see what I'm saying? So for the mere fact that you're losing your mind means you're losing the conscious mind, but your subconscious mind is coming online. So the white boy got to shoot niggas 45 times. You see what I'm saying? Or driving niggas behind trucks just to keep you shut down. You see what I'm saying? And keep you someplace in 1974. You see what I mean? And mainly through religion, all forms of this stuff. So let's go on to some stuff back here now. Let's deal with some stuff. Let me know how much time you got on the tape.
We got an hour and a half, man.
Okay, look. Now you gotta go pick up the movie Star Trek Insurrection. Star Trek Insurrection. This is a movie basically where people have found the secret of regeneration based on some rings that they moved around this planet. Those rings are also called melanin. We have multi-rings of consciousness. White people have what is called a marked nuclei with one ring of consciousness. You see what I'm saying? But anyway, these particular people have found the secret to regeneration, which is basically melanin. But the other people came in and was convinced the Federation to spy on them, and as a result of this spying on them, it was these other people who were trying to get the secret to regeneration. Come to find out these other people was the people who had found the secret, the children. And as you know, they call some white people our children. In certain cultures, India, over in Brazil, and South America, they call them the little brother of our children. So the movie was about melanin. If you get the gist of what was going on. Because the other ones that had too many facelifts and they had one too many faces they couldn't have anymore. But if you go and look at the actual the subtitle of the movie, it says Star Trek Insurrection. The battle for paradise has begun. So they are saying so many words, paradise is within melanin research. You get where I'm coming from here? It's within melanin research. There it keeps you understand that. Now, I need to deal with this particular part. Do you know that the word, and this is interesting because the word in Zoroastrianism, which is the Persian mystery system before Islam came, it's called Ismailianism. You see what I'm saying? And Islam is a variant of that. You see what I'm saying? Because that whole thing was put together by the boy Bilal. Muhammad's father helped out because he was a Sufi Muslim and stuff. And they just really modified some advanced stuff for some savage Arabs that was in the area. But anyway, Persian, Zoroastrianism, which is Persia, the name of melanin is called drug. The drug. But you know, melanin has a lot to do with hallucinogens. You see what I'm saying? So it was called the drug. And it's ironic that they would take the drug because the inside of the melanin is some stuff called a white stone, which is in the lower part of the abdomen. And it's interesting that in the particular white stone, which is the Christ seed. We're going to get into that in a few minutes. But anyway, they're interested in the white boy will also make a white stone in the future to counter lust, which is crack, which he puts B12 in and melatonin, which you can't stomach or you can't fight because of the melatonin. You see what I'm saying? Now, so it was also called the drug. Now, I want to get into this particular science right now, what's going down. Number one, in the particular book, the book 2 of the book I gave out, I explained something. There's a set chapter in there. I'm sorry that the numbers didn't come out. So what you do is disregard the numbers at the first part of the book. Just number on 1 through whatever it is on both books, and therefore if the staple run out, you know, basically you can get the page back in there. But anyway, there's a part in that book in the book 2, which is found in the Gnostic scriptures, which when we break, we will give you the people that want to buy the rest of the thing, you can come up here and get it. In the Gnostic scriptures, you will find that there is a section in there on the counterfeit spirits. Now, when I read this, or when I found out about this back in 1996 or 97, I think the end of 96, I immediately thought it was white people. But I remember a spiritual channel coming to me through my mate in 1995, and they said that not all black people are the original people. You got some counterfeit spirits in some black people. But I didn't say anything about it because, based on solidarity, you don't want to confuse a lot of people. Because I didn't have the documentation on it. And although you can't get everything, you cannot be documented. You see, because some things come from the spiritual realm, but still, yeah, that was one I figured. You're going to make claims on this fucked up Negroes down here. Other than a slave mentality, you should have some documentation. Meanwhile, Dr. York wrote a book called The Black Devils. But unfortunately, Dr. York never documents where he gets his stuff from. So how valid can that be? But he had said something that even Elijah Muhammad had talked about. When he said you were made devils, he just said you were made devils. One of the keys is this. When I found this thing on the counterfeit spirits, I thought it was white. But when I went back and did some more research on it, they were saying after the gods got down here, which is us. We are the fallen ones, the Nephilim, which in Egypt is called, or Hemmitt is called the Nefer or Neter. But the word Nefer, Nephilim is Nefer, comes from the word Nephilim. No, the word Nephilim comes from the word Nefer. It's Nefer, Nephilim, or Neter. And it means fallen spirits. We are the ones that fall, which means we were transferred. In the Hermetic text, which is one of the oldest texts in the world, it says that the gods was transferred from heaven to earth. And those are the true gods. The ones that's in heaven is the fucking enemy. We'll go in there also in question and answer. But the key here is the Nephilim or the Nefers are the true spirits, which is us. Or they are also called the fallen spirits are called the Asuras. You get the word Asur, which is Osiris. And you get the word Asura. Or you get the word in Persian, you get Ahura Mazda. But Asuras is in India, in the Rig Veda, those are the fallen spirits, which is us. You see. So you go to church, you pray against yourself. Your ass down here, ain't you?
That's right.
You got to be the fallen spirits. But anyway, the other spirits understood that we were advanced gods. So as a result, they created a counterfeit spirit. It's all in the documentation. Now that's coming from Hemmitt. And as a matter of fact, that Gnostic stuff is pre-dynastic Egyptian stuff. And they said that these fallen spirits, these counterfeit spirits would hinder man, or would be antagonistic to man up until the end time. When I look in the science of when they was talking, the age when they was talking these counterfeit spirits was made was long before any white people could have been made. So we couldn't have been talking about white people. That's a whole other line and a whole other mythology. You see what I'm saying? These particular fallen spirits that they were talking about, these counterfeit spirits that they were talking about were black people. You see what I'm saying? Which now makes sense. Because you in your head, you're saying, man, I know there's some messed up Negroes. And first you say, well, they got slave mentality, so that's what it is. But it's interesting. These same Negroes with slave mentality, they can basically use rationale and logic to the point that they can damn outdo you in business as well as riches that got your ass big. But yet when it comes to you, all of a sudden they fucked up. They ain't want nothing to do with Negroes. And there's just a lot of other things that's been going on because there's also been a counterfeit spirit element that was with us all the time, and it's black. Now shit makes sense when it comes to God. But see, I wouldn't dare say this to a virgin crowd or a crowd that never had no science. What I'm talking about now, we're talking about getting into science, you see, because we are beyond just each one teach one and all this built up all the black race, all that shit. We'll talk about the God's supposed to tear this shit down. And that's what you in God's school, along with me, because we're all students. Check? So this particular counterfeit spirits, you will read some part of it in the actual book, the particular book. Now it's interesting because we are also, when you go back to the movie Star Trek, First Contact, we are also, when you see the Borg people, that's who we are. These are people that say resistance is futile, and we are all on one collective consciousness. That's what, before we fell into individual consciousness, we were all connected to one telepathy consciousness, and that's what the Borg is. And resistance is futile. So anytime you see an enemy, identify with the enemy, because they're fighting against the Borg. You see what I'm saying? In the actual movie, they're fighting against the Borg. Now this is interesting because now we're finding out a little more about racism as far as the Europeans. First of all, a friend named Juju said it's not necessarily racism based on some chart shit on the way they are racist, because now we're coming to find out that it's not just the white person in the South that's racist. It's white people every damn way is racist. You might be in France and get some shit. And it's not based on perception. Because if it's based on the southern thing, why they had racism in fucking Egypt? With the white Romans. You see what I'm saying? They killed thousands of black people. The key is with this particular racism is when they come in contact with you, they can't take your energy. And why can't they take your energy? Now remember now, because we have the proof now based on the several texts from around the world, we got more proof on the Yahoo theory than we do the white people, black people mutating in the Ice Age theory. Because you see what I'm saying? That kind of bullshit. Because number one, we were more advanced people. We would never know 8 people in the first place. And in none of our scripture and our science ever talk about us being coming from no 8. That's Charles Darwin, who was a form of the Illuminati. Who literally they paid him to make this whole natural selection and evolution shit up to counteract the Atlantis, Lemuria, and black people, because white people understood at that particular time when he wrote that if these people were the oldest people on the earth, where the hell did we come from? So they had to make this 8 thing and all to hide your true identity. So the key is if we weren't 8, we were advanced beings. When it got cold, we knew to get the hell on back to something warm. So it wasn't like Lucifer. 8 people standing around and it got cold and we go, ooh, ooh, ooh. How the fuck you get up there in the first damn place? But my point is, you advanced civilization, hell, the Eskimos live up in there and they live in Africa, so they ain't turned white. Apparently, we now know that the European was made from a crossbreed of animal DNA as well as human DNA. So now, if you understand something about racism, you can get the lion or you can get the bear. And I don't care how strong they are. The most feared creatures in the forest, they're always afraid of humans. They always tell you that a bear is more afraid of you than you are him. That's why he attacks. Any animals are afraid of humans. Right? Since the European is made a part of animal DNA, when he comes in contact with the human, he fears it. That's what xenophobia comes in. You see what I'm saying? You see how it makes sense? Yeah. They can't take your energy. You see what I'm saying? They can't take your energy. You see? And they fear you. You see? And when they don't, it's because they are trained not to fear you. Don't the white man stick his head on the goddamn lion mouth? Yeah. All right then. So that's what we're talking about here. On that particular science. Okay. Anyway, like I told you before, we're right in the middle of this particular black hole. First of all, let me break. We're right in the middle of this particular black hole. First, we need to break down this matrix thing. When we talk about that on the flight. Number one, the matrix. Literally, some people went in the movie. They got the matrix was a series of things that happened. Literally, the matrix is. We live in an illusionary world. It's called Maya in India. You see what I'm saying? In the Kabbalah, it's called the world of appearances. You see what I'm saying? The material is a matrix. Now, the story goes in what is called the Necronomicon there that you call the great old ones. There was a series of dreams. And so you mean to tell me that a person can have a dream 2,000 years ago, and it can be legitimate that you use it as far as scripture. But a person can't have a premonition in the modern time, and that don't be legitimate. Apparently, he started having these dreams. Now, the reason why we know this stuff is accurate for one thing about H.P. Lovecraft. H.P. Lovecraft was a staunch racist. Yet he talked about these magnificent beings that used to rule the earth before the physical, and got trapped in the physical. But he said they only got one contact on the earth in the physical realm, and that's a black man called near the hotel. Now, apparently, if he was making this shit up, no person gonna make up a heroic story that's a racist and name a chief, name the only human in the story, a black person. It wouldn't make any sense. Well, hell, they're making the Egyptians white today. So apparently, he was getting these particular dreams, and he knew that this stuff was black, and he wrote these particular magnificent stories about the great old ones in the Necronomicon. You can get the best of H.P. Lovecraft in any of the bookstores. But the key was, which the head one is Cthulhu, the physical one is the Black Pharaoh near the hotel. Then you can understand the story of the mummy was taken from this H.P. Lovecraft thing. Anyway, the interesting thing is in the Necronomicon mythos, they talk about how these great old ones came down, and based on the cycle, they went to sleep. When they went to sleep, these lesser beings came in and found the great old one asleep, and they put this elder sign on him, and they could not wake up from the dream. Remember Morpheus in the movie said, what if you never woke up from the dream? How would you know that that dream is not reality? So they never woke up from this particular dream state. Now I was trying to find out for the last 4 or 5 years, what is this elder sign? And I figured it out. The elder sign is the human brain. The brain is the enemy. The brain is giving you physical appearances to make this thing seem like it's real, but it's not real at all. You see what I'm saying? But it's not real at all. In the hermetic material, Tahuti is talking to his son Tot, which just means the soul. And he's telling him that none of this down here is real. It doesn't exist. So Tahuti is saying, well, the son is saying, well, isn't the baby real? Isn't the man real? Isn't the woman real? He said, no, they do not exist. They are only merely appearances of something that is real. They are only appearances of something that is real. There is something real someplace else, like a film. You know what I'm saying? Like a film. But it's showing on the screen someplace, and you thinking the screen is real. It's the actual film that is the blueprint, which is real. So he's saying it's only merely appearances. But the brain gives you the appearance, the appearance that this is real. That's the book, Michael Talbot's book, Holographic Universe. You see what I'm saying? So even Deepak Chopra says, you're not local. Which means you're someplace else. That someplace is on the inside. You see what I'm saying? But he was interested in the movie Matrix. When he first woke up in the Matrix, he found himself in this little tube and stuff, right? But what came and freed him? If you go back and look at it, it was the bug that came up and unlocked him from the Matrix. So that is the scout, which represents the soul. You see, and that's what unlocks him from the Matrix. You see what I'm saying? Now, every mythology or ancient spiritual system from around the world before religion. And we say religion, we're talking about the exoteric Islam, Judaism, and Christianity. And even Buddhism, which is the exoteric form of the ancient yogi stuff, which is basically the Rig Veda and all of that type of stuff. Every religion prior to, every spiritual system or educational system prior to the religions tell you that God is the enemy. Break this shit down. I know that's hard to take. You see, all of a sudden now, you've been calling in damn church and shit about some stuff. Now, what am I talking about? Now, I explained that the last time based on the whole thing about this subordinate deity, and I want to read something to you. I want to read something to you. 1 minute. Let me get this for you. I don't know if I read this the last time. I want to read this to you. I think I read it the last time. I want to read it again. Now the Creator who controls this place is between heaven and earth. He is called Zeus, or Plato of Zeus. Now, Zeus is later on Jesus. So when you call on Jesus, you're calling on your enemy. Right. Jesus. You got your boy right out of what you call it? Broke that Jupiter, which is in Rome, that's Zeus. In Greece, it's Zeus, which is astronomical sign is Jupiter. So they put Jupiter and Zeus together and made Jesus, or Zeus. As Donald McKenzie's book says, with the pronunciation, Jesus, or Jesus, or Jesus. Jesus is this particular subordinate creator. But anyway, it says that Philippians, which is Imhotep now, he's explaining that the creator, and this is thousands of years old. So literally, this is some of the original shit in the Hermetic text. In the Hermetic text now, the Hermetic text, one book, the Hermetic text has several books. There's a little small one that just came back out called Hermetica. There's an older one called Hermetica by Walter Scott, if you can get your hands on it. Then there's a 3-volume Hermetic text called Thrice Greatest Hermes, which they came out with these 3-volume Hermetic texts in 1992 for $50. 3 books for $50 in one book, but no black people bought them. You see what I'm saying? But now they're back out, because they have to go to the Kessinger's publishing company, which is our publishing company, and get this particular thing. But the one that is in print is one called Copenhagen Hermetica, which is also Pharaonic thought. Also too. Now, which is way older than anything. Some of the oldest stuff on the planet. And it says that the Creator who controls this place, the earth, is between heaven and earth. He is called Zeus, or Plato of Zeus. He is the Lord over the earth and the sea. And he does not possess the nourishment of all mortal creatures, for it is the core that bears the fruit. These are the forces that are always powerful and in a circle of the earth. You see what I'm saying? And because of those numbers, they are always with us. So they are saying that down in the earth or down on the earth is the true God. You see what I'm saying? The other ones produce this matrix, which is a prison house, and put us in. But ultimately, the matrix is the hardwiring of your own brain. When we told them, is this chair real? Or is it that your brain, does this chair feel hard? Or is it that your brain is telling you this chair feels hard? You see what I'm saying? So we're talking about breaking the actual matrix. In order to break the matrix in actuality, you're going to have to die. So what we're preparing for is death as the ultimate alternative. But not like you think it is. You see what I'm saying? It's no more, now don't get all crazy. It's no more than all y'all know about me Christmas. It ain't no more than what the damn Bible been telling your ass before. This is not my home. I'm just passing through. That's ancient stuff. So it's not like it's some new shit. No, we're not talking about no Jim Jones shit where we're going to drink it Kool-Aid. We talk about an advanced level of what you call death is actually life, new life. You see what I'm saying? But we all have to get rid of the physical body, this particular vessel. You see what I'm saying? Which is the prison house. We'll go into some other stuff when we deal with some extraterrestrial stuff also. You know. Now it's interesting because if you look at these particular magazines, Newsweek and Time, all of this was a horrible movie. I knew that they were going to make a great movie where they put all the, having everybody go to the movie to see the movie. You know they weren't going to drop the knowledge in it. That's why they put out the Matrix before. And so-called 13th floor today. You see what I'm saying? And you see they put out the stuff before and you go to the other one, but it didn't matter. It was still original. Because anytime they put this thing on Newsweek and Time, it means there's something greater going on than what you think it is. You see see what I'm saying? So the only thing they had to do with the character, they didn't want to select Darth Vader in the last 3 movies. Some people say, a lot of people like Darth Vader. You see what I'm saying? You got toys, people playing, I'm Darth Vader. But see what they did with this guy, they hardly showed the enemy here, Darth Maul, which is the black and red that I talked about, which is the Kundalini, or the revenge of Sith. Sith is Seth, or Seth, which is the oldest deity known to man. Seth fathers. You see what I'm saying? Which is the oldest deity known to man. So what they had to do was, see the new face of evil. So what they did was, they gave you a touch of him. They didn't put him in the movie enough for you to identify. Say, I like this cat here. So you saw him 3 times. The second time they was killing him. You see what I'm saying? So they did the ritual to kill the enemy. And then they talk about Taco Bell say, fight against the dark side. Right. So big ritual. Telling you to not go to your subconscious. Right. And we don't know what was subliminally put in the movie. Right. See, behind the movie, they gotta have some black man get killed. You see what I'm saying? Or something like that to make you hate your own self. Right. You see what I'm saying? You don't know what they programmed in the movie in these times. You know what I'm saying? It's like a big electric chair you going up in there. Right. So you never know what they put subliminally in the actual movie. But my point is, they didn't put this campaign out there to turn against the dark side just for some bullshit. You see what I'm saying? This was some advanced stuff that they were dealing with at that particular time. And mainly, like I said, to turn against the dark side is to turn against your own subconscious. You see what I'm saying? It's a great big ritual is actually going on. And they had to do it at this particular time. Now, number one, they changed it from an earlier date to open on the 19th, and the 19th is what? Malcolm X's birthday, May 19th. They purposely put it out at that particular time. And then they put it out at midnight. Make sure they get all of it. See what I'm saying? That's the key to this thing. You see what I'm saying? It was a great big ritual. Now, it's not going to work, but that's not the point. The point is that's not going to stop the government as usual trying. So you're saying, well, that's just a movie. Well, I can prove it in all of the scripture. If the Matrix is saying this is an illusion, and the scripture is saying this is an illusion, then what is reality? Reality is only what you perceive it to be. You understand what I'm saying? That's what they told you in the movie, in the Malcolm X. He kept saying this is not reality. They say reality is what you perceive it to be. What about if what you call reality was insanity? And what if you call insanity was reality? We'd all be in the crazy house. But in so many words, that's the way it is. What is real, you call insane. So you got to reverse this whole thing. You see what I'm saying? Including the theology of hate. You got to do everything that the religions that dominated you to tell you to shut down. You got to do something else. So go back into that particular part too. Now go back and get the movie. Go ahead and read the movie Soldier. The movie Soldier is based on they train the soldiers. Yeah. Okay, good. I'm gonna get these 2 things here, and we're gonna go in there. We're gonna do that. In the movie, the movie about they took these little boys from a child, and the one that was crying in the crib, they trained them to be the best soldiers. Those ones they picked. And they trained them to be these soldiers, and they fought all these wars, and then this guy came with some genetically implanted or genetically engineered soldiers, and they overpowered the other soldiers. And basically, in so many words, Kurt Russell was the head soldier. And he ended up being defeated with the guy Jason Scott Lee, and they thought he was dead, and they jumped him off on a planet where they had all this trash. And they got this planet where they dumped all the other trash from the other planets in the universe. Meanwhile, he was not dead. But there was a civilization that was on the planet who used all the trash of the other systems. They learned how to make a civilization out of the trash. Now, who is that like? That's not like us. And the soldier who fell became the Christ figure and redeemed those particular people on that planet, because the people who put him down there started coming after people on the planet and was going to kill them all off and say they're all hostile. That's what they call you now. So go and see the movie and identify with the stuff in the actual movie. Now, another movie you need to go see is the movie called Sundown. So the movie came out in 1990. It's a vampire movie. Then when we get in this vampire heaven, we're going to get into that after a while. We're going to take a break because the food is ready. But in this movie, Sundown, there were supposed to be these vampires. Now these vampires are two kinds of vampires. There's a white vampire that needs your blood to survive. And they ate your blood through the woman and through eating Negroes and cookouts down south when they hang a nigger. They had the barbecue grills because there was never a hanging without a barbecue grill. That's a part of American history they don't tell you. But anyway, up until 1994, when they start coming out with these melatonin pills, then they didn't have to eat you for the blood. But anyway, this movie is about these vampires, and these vampires who fed off humans all these years. This guy took them to this town out west, and he called Hemmitt in, and he made this synthetic blood for them so they wouldn't have to. It was like so they wouldn't have to kill people. But it was interesting. The blood was white, looked like a white milk in the bottle, and they were drinking that as a substitute for blood. Now it's interesting.